Hello and welcome to this edition of The Rest is Entertainment Questions and Answers edition.
Beautiful. I'm Richard Osman.
And I'm Marina Hyde.
What are we talking about today, Marina? All sorts of fun things. Should we just go straight into a question?
Let's go straight into a question.
Is that crazy? James Gayer has a question. My question regards Banksy and the extent to which the media and police keep his identity hidden. There must be dozens of people who know his identity but don't reveal it. And surely he's been reported to police by concerned neighbours regarding potential graffiti over the years. Does his agent pay to maintain the secrecy?
Oh, right. Okay, James. Well, they definitely don't pay to maintain secrecy. And I don't actually think it is much of a secret. You could Google it pretty quickly. I think the Daily Mail has run stories about the same story about it over many, many years now as to who it is. I think in lots of, but don't Google it if you don't want to know, because
Yes,
I think
exactly.
It's a little bit like, do you actually want to know who wins Traitors before it airs? Not really. Lots of people don't want to know. They like the idea, and I guess they respect the idea that he doesn't want to be known as an artist in that way. And I suppose the form of art that he uses, stenciling, helps him get away quickly.
Yes.
So I don't think he hangs around for a huge amount of time in any of
He's
these
not
places.
sitting by a canal with watercolours.
Slowly, yeah. And yes, and he's put some new ones up around London. The Girl with the Balloon was voted Britain's most popular artwork. Did you know that?
Was it? Well, the one that went through the shredder for 18 million. I mean, that's good. I like that. You're not a fan? Look at your face.
I think he is a brilliant propagandist, and I think that the way the art, I mean, to me, it's just its meaning is immediately revealed to you.
Yes.
It's almost, it's to the point of perhaps being trite or glib at times. I mean, surely it's so obvious that it doesn't require any thought in the viewer at all. So I think as a brilliant propagandist, but maybe that's the point.
Well, yes, I'm a big fan of Banksy, and you're right. I think on the immediacy of the works, you're not looking at 15 different layers, but I think the career path is extraordinary as a piece of art. I think the fact that the art is public or is often public and sort of can go viral is that's part of the point. The fact that he has kept his identity secret, I think, is an extraordinary part of the point. I think the whole thing is a piece of performance art, and every single stencil it's almost like one big canvas, and every stencil is like a tiny bit of it. So I like him. I think he's incredibly talented. But to go to speak to James's question, yes, you can find out who he is, but it's been pretty well kept under wraps. I mean, it's amazingly well done, even in the current era. Even now, I suspect they put out some SEO stuff that kind of puts out other names there. The guy from Massive Attack is always mentioned as he's possibly Banksy and isn't. So lots of other names are out there. But yeah, there's one particular name. If you want to go online, spoil it for yourself, you absolutely can do. But I think it's a bit of fun, isn't it, when Banksy turns up in your town?
Yes.
I mean, but
it's a sort of populist form of art. It's for everybody. It works really well in media, and you can see it. It works well in media, which is why it's so shared. It works well in the space, but it also works well in photos and people interacting it in the way. So it's kept pace with, I guess, changing media.
Yeah, I think he's weirdly he's sort of a Warhol for our times, which is he's making a comment on what art is.
Yes,
he's making a comment on what celebrity is. He's making a comment on what we value, and I think fair play to him. I assume with things like the 18 million print that he sold, I don't know if that belonged to someone else. I think he was involved in it, wasn't he? Because obviously they had to put it in the shredder, so he's making good money as well. And it's easier to keep yourself. It's easier to hide if you've got a bit of cash behind you. But I mean, and at some point there's presumably the opportunity of a big reveal, and that will be fun.
Yeah, I guess if it becomes part of the canvas, as you say, but you can only do it once, and I'm not so sure what's in it for. I would have thought it would be better to try and stay under the radar as much as he is under the radar.
But I know the person who it is, or let's assume that it is. Even his parents are going, no, we don't have a son with that name. So he obviously has a group of people around him who are part of the whole story, part of the gang. And I do genuinely think, over the amount of years he's been going, that's pretty an impressive undertaking to have a group of friends so tight that no one just, because you could go on This Morning and just say, look, it's me, here's me with him, here's me doing some of the things with him. It'd be very easy to break that spell. And amazing that no one has broken that spell in
it's part
today's
of the
culture.
fascination, because actually there are so few people in the modern era who think that silence is an intriguing statement and not being a celebrity. And very, very few people say nothing at all.
Yeah.
And he's one of those. And I think that for that reason, it burnishes the allure.
It's like doing a whole series of The Masked Singer, but no one ever takes their heads off. That's a show I might pitch. And just so for everyone, I bet that was former Home Secretary Alan Johnson, but we'll never know.
Here is one for you, Richard, from Sam Donaldson about ghostwriters. How are ghostwriters chosen? I envision a panel of them meeting speed dating style with the celebrity author, but maybe the writer is chosen by the publisher.
It can be a bit of both, actually, is the truth. So we're talking about ghostwriters for people's autobiographies. There's a separate thing, which is ghostwritten fiction, which we'll get onto at the end. But the very much, the more visible one is, if a rugby player or a motorcyclist writes an autobiography, they write it with someone. That is a ghostwriter. And it can happen a variety of ways. Often the celebrity, when they pitch the book, will have a ghostwriter attached already, a friend of theirs, or you have a whole life in sport or politics or music or anything, and by and large you've been interviewed a number of times by a lot of different journalists, and there'll be a couple that you get on with or whose writing you like, and so you will say to them, will you come in with me to the publishers, will you help me knock together a proposal, and you said it with a ghostwriter attached. That's very, very common, only because most people with autobiographies work in worlds where they come across journalists a lot. If that is not the case, and often isn't, if there's, say after the Olympics we've just had, and someone wants to write Keely Hodgkinson's autobiography, nobody biography, isn't it? Say someone wants to write Keely Hodgson's biography, and Keely Hodgkinson doesn't have a journalist attached, but just a publisher says to her, we'll give you £200,000 to do your biography. Are you interested? To which, of course, she would probably say, I'm much too young. But if she wants a bit of cash, she'll say, yeah, I'll do it. And on that situation, then publishers will go to agents and say, this is who we've got. It's Keely Hodgkinson. Who have you got on your roster who can write this thing? And most agents have got good ghostwriters. A great guy called Boris Starling, who writes a lot of the rugby autobiographies, including Sam Warburton's one. So you've got people like this who are just sensationally great writers, and you team them up with someone great, and on that instance the writers will all come in to meet Keely Hodgkinson. By the way, I'm absolutely taking Keely Hodgkinson's name in vain, but you know what I mean. They'll come in to meet and try and have a chemistry with that person, and if they meet and they get on with each other, then boom, contracts are signed, and they'll sit and interview that person over a series of days, a series of weeks, and then you can do quite a fast turnaround thing with ghostwriters. So often it'll be a favourite journalist of the person, and there's very good money to be made in these things, especially ones that are not that people haven't pretended they've written themselves. Usually in biographies, we know that someone's helped us. In the Prince Harry biography and stuff like that, we know who the ghostwriter is.
J.R. Muringer, and he was chosen because his Agassi book, Andre Agassi book, is amazing. And you wouldn't think Agassi was a great tennis player and he was a showman and all sorts of things, but the autobiography is absolutely brilliant. Now, Agassi actually realised how good it was and said, mate, your name should be on the cover too.
Oh, did
he? Yeah,
right.
And he said, no, I'm hard for this reason. But the greatest ghostwriters, and clearly what happened with Muringer, who gave some interviews after having done The Spare, which became the fastest selling book of all time or whatever it was, said, he really pushed Prince Harry to say more and more about certain things. And often the really sensational stuff or the very raw stuff comes right at the end. It's not like you've talked through their life and you go back to things, and right at the end, when you've built up a long time of talking to someone, maybe in their house, over many, many hours, over some months, they come back and they say, there's a sort of dump of all the really intense personal stuff that's going to be the bit that is in all the headlines and is filleted out of the serializations, and then everybody talks about.
And again, that's the skill of a ghostwriter. So the ghostwriter isn't you sit and listen to someone tell you their life story and then I move to Notts Forest and write it all down in order. It's someone who can really, really get inside someone's personality and can ask interesting questions and can get all the biographical stuff and get all the stuff in order, but then starts going much deeper about why are they a sports person? What does ambition mean to them? What do they regret? What does regret mean? All of that really interesting stuff, and that's what a great ghostwriter does. They're not just a great writer; they're a great interviewer. And so, if you get the the right ghostwriter and the right celebrity, you got yourself a huge hit. So that's by and large is what happens. They either come with them, or there is, as Sam says, sort of a speed dating session. Is absolutely right. It's exactly what happens. Now there's a different world, which is ghostwriting in fiction. I saw that lovely stat the other day that when Katie Price's first novel came out, it outsold the entire Booker Prize long list for that year. And I'm sure will be the first to say it. She did not trouble the scorers with that one. Someone wrote that for her, and that happens a lot with.
I think she frequently said she hadn't read any of her autobiographies,
well,
let alone her novel. Which
Roy King got in trouble for that, because I think in his autobiography he said that he had deliberately targeted Alf Inge Haaland when he got badly injured, and he'd always said it was an accident, and so he got taken to court, and he had to admit in court that he had not read his autobiography. So it's a dangerous place. Yes. So sometimes in fiction, if they've got somebody who they want to write a book, they will go to agents, but in a much quieter way, and say,
we've talked about this, celebrity authors who aren't even authors.
Yeah, and by the way, almost all of them are. So your Bob Mortimers and Ruth Joneses and the people you would imagine write their own books do.
Once again, you've set us the detective game, Richard, because there are some out there who do absolutely none of it. Yeah,
and by the way, and some of them admit to it as well. But so there's a small Venn diagram in the middle of people who don't write it themselves but don't admit to it. But it's listen, those books are not selling huge amounts, so we needn't worry too much about it. But so in that world, if you do get teamed up with a celebrity and you've got to write a rom-com, that's a super quick turnaround. You'll say to the agent, here's the name, here's the vibe of what we want to do, because this is what they're known for. You have a month and here's the money. Do you have someone who will do this for you? And, if you've got a month spare and you're good at writing rom-coms, or you're good at writing something else, then off you go and do it. But it's ghostwriting, I always think it sounds quite dodgy, but by and large it's the opposite. By and large, it's in that non-fiction world, it's absolutely above board. You get people who are unbelievably brilliant at it. It's very well paid if you do it at the right time for the right people, and you get a proper back end. So it's an incredibly noble profession, the profession of ghostwriting, particularly in non-fiction, and it's not a dirty secret in the world of publishing. It's absolutely up front and centre.
This episode is presented by our friends at Sky, proud partners of The Rest is Entertainment.
Can we talk a little bit about the incredible range of documentaries that Sky show?
Please, I love a good documentary.
There's an incredible one called Klitschko, More Than a Fight, which is about Vitaly Klitschko, former world boxing heavyweight champion, currently mayor of Kiev.
And that comes out on the 15th of August, and it draws on a whole wealth of archive, personal footage, new interviews to tell both brothers' story.
If you love true crime, there's a new documentary called The Body Next Door, which is out now. A really, really fascinating case, a fascinating crime, and a very well-made documentary. But can I save the best to last? The best for me, anyway, which is a documentary that's currently shooting, will be coming up soon. I have just one word for you: darts. The whole world is obsessed with Luke Littler, this incredible 17-year-old. The world of darts is so extraordinary, amazing characters you don't quite get in any other sport. I
think it's fair to say.
So yeah, it's a drive to survive for darts, and Sky are currently filming that, and I literally cannot wait.
An absolute banker there.
So immerse yourself in the world's most captivating stories with award-winning documentaries from Sky. We haven't done a top 3 for a while, so let's do a quick one of those. Jimmy King, great name. That's a great character name in a book. I love that, Jimmy, if you don't mind. Jimmy King says, what are your top 3 films with the word 3 in the title? Not including, this is good, Jimmy knows his business, but not including films that are the third of a trilogy. So no Aliens 3, Godfather Part 3, Iron Man 3, etc.
Well, the latter two would certainly never have been included, but yes.
Iron Man 3?
No.
I love Iron Man 3 so much.
I know you do. You do.
With my pal Sir Ben Kingsley. I love Iron Man 3.
Right, I'm going to do a top 3.
Okay.
I'm going to do a top 3. It's happening.
This is confusing, though, because it's also got...
Three Amigos, by the way, is a great shout, Jimmy King. And that is in at number 3.
So Jimmy gives us his 3 and 3 Amigos. He's putting, and you're
I'm putting in at number 3, 3 Amigos, because I have to.
Number 3, 3 Amigos.
Now, number 2, I am doing... This is controversial. There's 3 of them. The 3 Colours trilogy, Krzysztof Kieślowski. Yes,
wow.
Yes. First name and first time on the podcast.
So that's 3 colours blue, 3 colours white,
and 3 colours red. Yes.
And Talk us through, because that's the very definition of art house. I only remember them from thinking,
oh, they're amazing.
If ever I need to refer to a film that sounds like an art house film, I'll do the Three Colours trilogy.
Just do Three Colours trilogy. Yeah, okay. So Juliette Binoche, Julie Delpy, Irene Jacob. Oh my God, watch them. They are amazing. They're amazing. And
what happens in them? Helicopter chases?
Yeah, it's a lot of helicopter chases. Anyway, they're brilliant. Okay. So that's number 2.
Yeah.
And at number 1, and again, this might be controversial because it's not literally the one 3.
Oh my God.
But this should be in all top 3s of everything, really. The Third Man. The Third Man, one of the greatest movies of all time. I really recently watched it all over again because someone told me something which actually didn't turn out to be accurate, saying that the light went, when you first see Harry Lime, that you see the light go on. And then you also see it turned on again in the window. And I wanted to see if that actually happened because it's a little bit of sleight of hand of filmmaking, but it doesn't happen. But it is the most, that's a tiny little detail, but it is the most wonderful film. And if you haven't seen it, I strongly urge you to watch The Third Man.
So, but your number 1 of films with the word 3 in the title.
Yeah, it's The Third Man. Come on, you're going to give me that. You're going to give me that.
No. We haven't stopped rowing about Third and 3.
But we're going to pour soothing oil on this now with a question about Hey Dougie, Richard. Grace Coe says, like many toddler parents, I have watched countless episodes of Hey Dougie. Me too. I always end up wondering about the actors that voice the children. There are hundreds of episodes of Dougie, and the voice acting from these children is really good. When children are voicing characters on these shows, do they have to record lots in one go before their voices deepen?
They do. They do. I'm going to shock you as well, Grace. They do get replaced as well. There are. I'm so sorry to break that to you, but that's show business. That's the way it works. They do record a lot of episodes all in one go. They absolutely do that. And by and large, those shows also, they would record in isolation. So there's absolutely different labour laws and timing laws for children. So they would go in, have a lot of fun, really, really enjoy themselves and record a lot in one go. They do have to replace those voices after a period of time, of course, because children's voices change. There's over 200 episodes, been running since 2004. And there have been 4 actresses who played Pepper in that time, the first of whom is now sort of in her mid-20s, which was Lily Snowden Fine, who's the daughter of the original animators. And then there was Cecily Bloom, who was 17 years old and did it for only 1 season. It's a terrific question. I know all about Peppa Pig, and I assume
it reads across.
It's very similar to Hey Dougie. So forgive me, Grace, for having different skill set. Xander is in all of them.
Yeah.
He's every single time. Yes. His entire life is having to record things for people as Daddy Dog. He's always, I'm Daddy Dog. It's your birthday. Just like absolutely nonstop. But so for Peppa Pig, I can tell you they do record lots and lots of episodes in one go. And then Harley Bird, she did the role for 13 years, 185 episodes from the age of 5. She became the youngest person ever to win a BAFTA. Harley Bird. And Emily B. Smith joined in 2020. She was 9 years old and now currently plays the pig. So I'm going to assume they're the same in Hey Dougie. And Bluey, the voices of Bluey and Bingo, they're kept absolutely secret. They're voiced by children of their friends and production crew. So that's a rotating cast of children. But it's those things, they're incredible industries, all of them. But yeah, everyone records in isolation. It's a really lovely gig to have. As I say, Alexander Armstrong does it. So if you're a comic or a voice actor, that's a lovely gig. But yeah, for the kids, there's a bit more churn. Here is one for you, Marina. Simon Marshall asks, why has the UK regained its status as a movie shoot venue? What promoted it to change?
Well, this is a very good question because it is now massive. I think the statistic is that last year, the UK films produced in the UK was 22.5% of the whole global box office. It's a combination of lots of things. We have amazing facilities here now, but how did we really get them? What eventually happened back in the old days, people like Stanley Kubrick came and based themselves in the 60s in the UK, Americans, because Richard Lester, other people like that, they thought it was a great place to make movies. And then by the time you get to the 70s, Superman was made at Pinewood, Star Wars was at Elstree, and we had this real special effects expertise, which was sort of counterintuitive in a way.
Whenever we used to film Pointless at Elstree, we were always in the same studio where they had the moon of Endor, and Ewoks had been flying around the studio. So we always loved that. And then Robin Asquith came on and said, yeah, we also did Confessions of a Window Cleaner here. So we're like, wow, We've seen it all.
So we had all that, but then in the 70s, American money basically withdrew because they started creating their own tax credit scheme in their country. And 80s was a real slump, and which isn't to say that we didn't have great films made in this country in the 80s, things like My Beautiful Laundrette or With Nail or Merchant Ivory things. But in the 1990s, basically with New Labour, government support returns and they start doing tax relief. But one of the biggest things that really happened was that J.K. Rowling said, if you're going to make films of the Harry Potter, they must be made here in the UK. And as a result, there was 9 solid years. They did it at Leavesden, which I work a lot at. And it used to be an aerodrome and a Rolls-Royce factory. And they created, the studios were there for 9 solid years. Thousands of British people, amazing crews and craftspeople worked on those. If you ever have done the Harry Potter studio tour, I love doing it. The stuff is so beautifully made.
Chris Columbus has said he literally worked on it like non-stop for he was going to just carry on. He just I got to the point where he said it was just the whole thing was such an extraordinary operation, just a huge amount of people that so he gave up after 2. But again, that thing of he came over, did that, absolutely loved it, wants to come back to Britain all the time.
And we proved ourselves as a place where there were fantastic craftspeople. And we also had the post-production stuff. So you've got these big powerhouses like Frame Store, which do VFX and did sort of various types of editing. And then Warner Brothers basically bought Leavesden. At the end of that, they didn't need to, but they by that point had liked it so much and we'd sort of proved ourselves as a place where you could do it end to end. And now there are more, I think I'm right in saying that there are more sound stages here now, just in that sort of corridor around London than there are in LA, which is extraordinary. And huge numbers of things. We talked last week about how Marvel are doing the Fantastic Four here and both then the new Avengers movies. We all had things like the Bond franchise, but Mission Impossible gets made here. There's so much stuff has happened here. So basically, J.K. Rowling was a big part by insisting it had to happen here. But then what they have started to do is do the tax incentives. And so many movie productions chase incentives around the world.
100%.
The other big thing, the third piece of this jigsaw is you need an Anglophone crew. It's really helpful for the Americans. That this is why Australia, the UK and places like that.
South Africa is
because if the crews speak English, it is just obviously helpful on a very, very tight, where everything's very expensive. It just removes one piece of friction. And so those are the places which have really taken off. But the UK is really at the forefront of that. And it's such a successful business. I mean, I think that as many tax breaks as possible should be offered because it brings so much more money in than it takes out.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's funny, that thing of, tax breaks made a huge difference. It's like watching the Olympics and seeing the medal table. Look, going back to 1996 and Britain won kind of 16 medals overall. They won 1 gold. And then you think, then the national lottery money started coming through, and suddenly we're like, right up on the middle table. Where you can leverage money from government sources or lottery sources, it makes a huge difference. In a planned way, and it makes Britain such a happier, more entertaining place. But yeah, tax incentives plus the incredible skill set we've had over here for many years are a potent combination. I wasn't aware of the J.K. Rowling bit of that jigsaw.
And dare I say that the non-unionisation, it's not the same. We don't have unionised crews in the same way that where it's incredibly unionised, the American entertainment industry. And I think you can probably benefit. They probably think this. Yeah. I don't have to do it. This is a WGA contract or this type of as Screen Actors Guild contract, or as an IATSE contract, which is the below the line crew.
But equally, don't go a minute over your shooting time, otherwise you'll know about it.
And it is unionised, and you have to all agree, and the whole crew has to agree, etc., etc. But it's not the same as in America.
Yeah.
A fantastic name now, Richard. Rod Begbie.
Listen, I'd have it if Irvin Welsh hadn't got there first.
Yes. Do celebrities sign their name differently when doing an autograph versus when they're signing a contract? If I buy a signed copy of your book, Richard, could I be one step closer to figuring out how to forge my way into your will?
So clever, Rod. Yes, God, when you sign books, I haven't done many this year because last year I did like 46,000 or something. So this year I've had to do them for America, but I'm going to do some individual.
You're post-signing now.
Sign it. Or just, sometimes you sit there for a whole week and you're signing and signing. So this time.
It sent me insane. I did it once for 2 days and it sent me absolutely insane. Like I couldn't properly speak.
Yeah.
That's what Jack Nicholson's doing in The Shining, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah, just
but you're doing even fewer
again.
Words than he's saying.
Yeah, he's signing tip-ins.
Yeah.
And yes, my signature is certainly, I have a very efficient signing signature, which doesn't look like my official signature. And I got to a point where I'd done a few where I was thinking, no, that's literally unintelligible now. So then I have to remember just to make it look a bit more like my own name. The thing is, here's the interesting thing, is you don't sign contracts anymore. You sign them all
on Adobe.
Online. Yeah. And so your signature is like an absolute mess and it looks like a scrawl. So yeah, there's, you never sort of have official versions of your signature.
I sign mine in a name that doesn't actually exist. I just, like, Marina Hyde isn't actually my name. I've never created any form of name. Is it okay though? Sorry, anyone I've ever signed a contract in, I don't think that is legally illegal. My name in any way.
No way, that's great.
And I've signed it all the time, but as I say, it's just you just type it into Adobe Sign, don't you?
Yeah, you really do, and which is, I mean, honestly, that's lovely. You don't have to you don't have to print anything out. You do, sometimes you do think, and can this be right? There's lots of cons that go around the publishing world, especially when they know that if you've been nominated for a award or something like that, or you've just signed a deal with a particular country, that they'll send you something through and say, oh, this is with a tax office from Bulgaria, or oh, I'm the treasurer of this award that I've seen you just won, we're just about to wire you the 50,000, we need you to do X, Y, or Z. And a lot of people have been caught out with those just because, again, you open Adobe, you just sign it and send it back off, and then the agent goes, no, they've already sent them money, what have you just signed? And then suddenly like, oh no,
that's why I have you.
Yes, exactly, that's what agents are for. So yeah, I have a very efficient signature on signed books.
A friend of mine who's an author and is brilliant and knows all the authors sometimes gets the Christmas and thinks, oh, I've got to do it, I should do a signed copy of this. I can do Margaret Atwood's signature.
Whoa. But it is a lovely thing to do. A signed book is a really lovely thing to have, I think, because it's a book you want anyway. It's just a really lovely present to give and all of that kind of stuff. So I do try, even if I'm doing lots, I try and I guess sometimes I like look down at one I've just signed and just go, imagine if you had that at Christmas and that's my signature.
That's him, is it?
Absolutely, that's him. Be absolutely furious. I always tear it up and start again with the next one. But no, if ever I had to sign an actual contract, I would be very florid and really spell out my name properly. But it's my God, it's
a wax seal. I feel you should have now. You're moving into your wax seal years.
That's a really good idea.
And the thumbprint.
A thumbprint, perfect. My author signature and my actual signature are very different. Poor Xander, when we used to write the Pointless books, he has to write Alexander Armstrong every time he signs something. Oh, it takes forever.
Yes, that is quite long.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah, and my agent said to me, why don't you develop an author signature? I said, I've got to do these in 48 hours. I can't develop anything new now. I'm going to have to work with what I've got, which is, I don't even have a signature in real life. I just write my name. So it took me a long time. And that's perhaps why I did feel insane by the end of it.
And you don't even write your name. You write someone else. You write a fake name.
It's like a pretend name.
Whoa.
That apparently is legal.
So your real name is Marina Abramovich, right?
Yes, Marina Abramovich, yes, I just try to keep the art world separate. But...
Yeah. I get it. Is that us done?
I think that is.
That was fun.
It was
Lots
fun.
Of really good, what lovely questions. Do keep sending them in. The more the merrier.
The rest is entertainment@gmail.com.
And we will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.